Welcome to the Therapy Show podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Mustard. In each episode, I interview a seasoned and knowledgeable talk therapist from the counseling world to glean valuable insights, techniques, and tools that you can apply to your practice and your life. And if you're considering a career in the counseling field or just want to hear about what it's like to be a talk therapist, then this is the podcast for you. Well, hey friend, happy Saturday. It's another Put It Into Practice episode I'm recording for you. And I want to follow up on the episode I released this past Wednesday, which is titled Thriving in Midlife, How to Navigate Life's Challenges and Achieve Your Goals with Me. Now, it was a reverse interview. Usually on Wednesdays, I interview a therapist or a counselor or somebody in the mental health profession, but we flipped it and did a reverse interview. My friend Chris McDonald, who has a podcast for therapists who want to add holistic counseling modalities. If you're interested in that, definitely check out her show. It's called the Holistic Counseling Podcast. But she interviewed me on her show, and I took that interview, and then I added some special things to the beginning, and then we released it as one of my Wednesday episodes. And I want to follow up with a short episode today that kind of goes a little bit deeper into midlife issues. And of course, I'm getting a text as I start this, of course. Let me turn off all my phones. So I want to talk to you today about the emotional challenges that can happen. And I'm going to speak to women. So if you are a guy and you're in midlife, you can definitely listen. But if you have a woman in your life that's midlife, maybe it's your wife, your girlfriend, your partner, even your mom, your sister, whoever that is in midlife. And I describe midlife 35 and up, 35 to probably 60. And she is experiencing some type of emotional challenges. It's common. And I want ladies out there to know you are not alone. Something that, we go through emotional challenges at all stages of our life. But for some reason, when we get to that midlife, it can kind of hit us a little bit harder. And it did for me when I turned 40. I'm about to be 50 in June. And I want to just kind of review a couple of the emotional challenges that a lot of women experience when they hit the, some people say 40, I say 35, because honestly, I probably started feeling midlife challenges in my late 30s. So I don't think there's like a scientific method to figuring out exactly when it starts, because it's going to be different for everybody just based on your life and your life experiences and what's going on in your life. So the first emotional challenge is anxiety. And a lot of women experience anxiety in midlife. And it could be caused by a number of different factors, including the hormonal changes that are definitely happening. It can also happen due to family and relationship stress, as well as financial concerns. I'm also going to throw in there maybe even career concerns, but anxiety can pop up for so many reasons. And symptoms of anxiety, worrisome thoughts, maybe you're having panic attacks, you have a hard time sleeping, hard time focusing, concentrating. It can run the gamut with symptoms of anxiety. And I know I share that a little bit of anxiety is actually a good thing, I believe, because it does spur you into taking action. But a lot of times we can get overrun by our anxiety, and we lay awake at night. We can't fall asleep. Maybe we're worried about the future. If we're, for me right now as a mom, my anxiety kicks in as I'm trying to go to sleep, and I think about the future, and I think about, our girls in the world that we're living in, and where's this going, and what's going to happen, and what's it going to be like for them. And I have to just remind myself, like, I can't predict the future. I can't control what is going to happen. And all I can do is control me and how I show up and how I parent today in the moment. So I don't know if that's helpful for you or not. I find that when I talk with women or I'm coaching them, this is something that comes up a good bit. And I'm not saying that there's a cure-all for anxiety, and it's not a one size fits all, but anxiety does tend to show up at times in midlife. For me, I don't know. I'm sure I might have been an anxious child here and there, but it really started to show up for me after I had kids. And I was advanced maternal age when I had my first kid, 35. So I don't know. I mean, genetic traits, is it there? Probably. There are some anxious women in my family. You know who you are if you're listening. But, it's not so much, we all are going to have it, I think, at some point, or we're going to experience symptoms of it. It's not letting it overtake your life. And how are you going to make peace with it, I guess, is the big question. Okay, the next thing that can happen is depression. And it can be common mental health concern for midlife women. And once again, it can be caused by a variety of factors such as hormone levels shifting, life stressors, unresolved emotional issues is a big one. Okay, I'm just going to throw that out there. Unresolved emotional issues is a big one. And that could be a number of things. I'm not going to go into detail about that because everybody, our unresolved emotional issues run the gamut as our, life experiences. But if you are having symptoms of depression, I encourage you to seek help, to get treatment, and to talk to somebody because I have had a depressive episode in my life. It was in my late 20s, and actually that's what spurred me to go to counseling for the first time and actually to become a therapist. So I have walked hand in hand with depression, and I know what that feels like. And there are a lot of different ways to work through depression. So if you are experiencing depression, please seek help. Please talk to a professional. There are links in the show notes where you can hopefully find yourself a really good therapist and start working on that. A lot of the times, anxiety and depression are like best friends holding hands, skipping down the street, and we can bounce back and forth between anxiety and depression. That's pretty common, actually. Now, I'm just speaking from my experience as a woman in midlife, and I'm also speaking from my experience as a therapist. But that doesn't mean that, stop doing what you're doing. Definitely listen to your doctor, do what they're telling you to do. This is just for information purposes. Okay. This is not to give you advice, but to know that a lot of the times anxiety and depression are like best friends holding hands, skipping down the street. And when I tell that to women, they go, oh, yeah, I can see that because if I'm not anxious, then I'm feeling down and I'm feeling, lonely, or I'm feeling worried, or I'm feeling, I mean, it's like back and forth, right? So the next thing that is significant emotional change for women in midlife is like this one for me was an identity crisis. You can be going through a time of questioning your identity and purpose. And a lot of the times we ladies, we may struggle with feelings of uncertainty, loss of direction, and lack of fulfillment. Maybe you up until this point in your life have been raising kids and you put your career on hold. Or maybe up until now you've been so focused on your career and you're hitting that midlife and you're like, "Oh, wait, I'm more than just a career." So there could be a lot of things going on for you. An identity crisis is not an uncommon thing. And that's kind of what I went through in my late 30s, early 40s when I talk about hitting my midlife meh. I love my job. I love being a therapist, but I kind of hit a wall with what I was doing and the work that I was doing. So I got really curious about what was going on and hired a life coach. And so glad that I did. It was just probably and I've been to therapy, and I'm not saying therapy is better. It's just different because with a life coach, I was able to really focus on making a plan and taking action and moving forward into what my goals were. And you can definitely do that with a therapist. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of the times, therapists are going to focus on stuff from the past. They're going to process past hurts, past unresolved issues, trauma, that kind of thing. But you can definitely find therapists out there who work from a coaching model. That would be me. So feel free to reach out to me if you want to chat about what's going on, because I can definitely help you as a life coach. I'm not taking on therapy clients, but life coach, we can chat. Definitely. My identity crisis at my late 30s was I just felt like I had more in me, and I felt like I had more in my heart that I needed to do on this planet. And it's kind of come full circle. It's really interesting how my 40s have played out. And here I am going into 50 with a different set of goals. So, I've built on my experiences to where I am to today to where I'm going. So I think that's pretty neat. And, I said in the podcast with Chris that we come to a point in our midlife where we have so many lived experiences and so many skills. And it's important to pay attention to what it is that we've learned about life and about ourselves and about people and about career and about parenting, all that stuff, as well as, making meaning with it and moving forward through midlife and how you want to show up. So I don't know. I get excited when I talk about these things.
Are you thinking of starting a podcast this year? Or perhaps you're a seasoned podcaster and you're looking for someone to take the podcast production off your plate. If so, we are currently taking on new clients and would love to be your production partner of choice. My name is Chelsea Weaver, and I am the owner of Chelsea Weaver Podcasting. I offer podcast startup packages, audio and video editing, plus show notes, graphics, and reels. So consider us a one-stop shop for all your podcast needs. A little bit about me, I have over 5+ years of experience in audio and video production. I am an Army veteran who served in Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. I partner with other female veterans who are also experienced in podcast production and social media services. We'd love to chat with you about your podcasting and social media needs and can be reached at chelseaweaverpodcasting.com. That's CHELSEAWEAVER podcasting.com.
All right, the next significant emotional challenge could be loneliness and isolation, because a lot of midlife women do experience feelings of loneliness and isolation, especially if they've experienced significant life changes, such as the loss of a partner or children leaving home. So, this is what we call like that empty nester syndrome, right? Or maybe you've lost your spouse, you've lost your partner in midlife. And that is something to consider at that point in your life, really getting some support, working with a therapist, finding a community that you can lean into and a group. And I have some friends that I have seen do this after the loss of their spouse, and it really is quite amazing to see what these ladies have been through and watch them as they deal with their grief and their loss and how they're managing this time in their lives. They've had to learn how to do things that they weren't expecting that they would have to do, right? I mean, in your midlife, you hope that your partner, your husband, is going to be there for you, but things do happen, unfortunately, and you have to navigate a world all by yourself, and you're not expecting that. So same thing with your kids leaving. Like, I think about the day right now. I joke around and say I can't wait till they leave, but I know when the day comes and they're gone, I'm going to be like, well, who am I now, or what do I do now? Don't get me wrong, I have a feeling my husband and I are going to do some pretty fun things, but it will be a shock. It will be kind of something new that I'm going to have to navigate. Okay, the next thing that is a significant emotional challenge for a lot of women in midlife is self-esteem and body image issues. As we age, we may struggle with self-esteem and body image related to physical changes associated with aging, such as weight gain, wrinkles, and loss of muscle tone. Now, you guys know I'm a huge, huge, huge believer and advocate of lifting weights. In fact, I preach it to our kids. Lift weights, eat the protein, lift the weights, eat the protein, recover, rest, drink your water, all those things that I started doing in my late 20s, that as I go into 50, you know, definitely my body has shifted and has changed, but I'm able to still preserve and build lean muscle mass. And that's one of the most important things that we don't talk about enough I think, when it comes to menopause and women, is we all think menopause is the reason why we gain the weight or we lose the muscle. No, it's aging. Just aging in general. Your hormones change and you start to distribute fat differently. It's not because of menopause. Menopause isn't the reason. It's because you're getting older. And so I was watching this, reel today on Instagram. I can't remember what it was, but it was talking about this Chinese proverb of the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, or it's today. So just because you're in your 40s and 50s and you haven't lifted weights doesn't mean that you can't start today and still get major benefits from lifting weights. In fact, I'm hoping I'm going to bring a friend on the show soon, and we're going to talk some more about this, and kind of reaching out to her and hoping, if she's listening, that she's going to come on the show soon. She's a personal trainer and she's just incredible. But we do have body image issues. Like, I look in the mirror right now, I look at my skin, my face, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where did that wrinkle come from? Or, and I struggle with it too. Do I go and I get the Botox, or do I do that really expensive laser treatment? But then again, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be 50. Like, this is what 50 looks like for me. And I think I'm okay with that. Now, I'm not okay with losing muscle. I'm not okay with losing balance. I'm not okay with losing coordination. But the cool thing about that is those are things that I can control. Those are things that I can work on. So I go to the gym 3 days a week. I eat my protein. I go on walks. I rest. I recover. I don't drink that much. All of these things that I was doing in my late 20s through my 30s and 40s, it's all paying off as I go into 50. Now, I'm not saying I'm still not going to gain weight. I'm not saying working out is easy for me. I'm not saying that I'm not motivated, because I am probably less motivated at 50 to, go to the gym than I used to be. But I have trained myself to discipline my distractions, because I know that lifting weights and eating a healthy diet and getting my sleep I feel good, first of all. I love how I feel. And second of all, that for me works, right? So why would I stop doing what I know to work? I'm not going to go on these detoxes. I'm not going to do, I used to really be into shakes and I thought that they were such a great thing. And I use them as supplements. I don't, base my nutrition around them. But eating whole foods, non-processed, unprocessed foods, if you just were to like cut the junk out of your diet and start eating a little bit more protein, you probably would see some great results and lift some weights, of course. But all right, I'm going to get off that soapbox because Lord knows I can go on and on about that. Okay, the next thing is stress, because midlife can be a stressful time with we are balancing multiple responsibilities such as caring for children, aging parents, managing work and household duties. So enough said on that, ladies, right? Do I even need to go into much detail about? So how do you manage your stress the best that you can? Because yeah, I'm caring for children. Thankfully, parents are doing pretty well. I don't have to, but one day they may not be. And then I'll be dealing with that. I do have my work, I do have my household duties, but I have a great partner in all of these things. And I'm able to ask him for help when I need it. And I think that it's wonderful to have a partner that you can ask for help with. And if you don't have a partner that you can ask for help, then maybe that's part of the issue. Maybe that's an issue that you need to think about and kick around a little bit. Okay, and the next issue that I'm going to cover and the last one, like I just said, relationship issues, because midlife can be a time of significant change in relationships, marriages, friendships, family dynamics, and we could struggle with feelings of loneliness, conflict, and uncertainty in our relationships. Once again, I think that a lot of these, well, not once again, but I want to say that a lot of these things can kind of play off on each other. So your relationship issues and your self-image issues and identity crisis could be fueling maybe symptoms of depression, or they could be fueling symptoms of anxiety. So I want to end with saying that it is important to seek support if you are experiencing any of these emotional health struggles during midlife. I mean, this can mean talking to a therapist, joining a support group, hiring a life coach like me, or, definitely reach out to friends and family who do support you. Surround yourself with like-minded people who lift you up and who understand. Sometimes it's great to have a mentor in midlife. Is there a woman that's maybe a couple years older than you, ahead of you, that has, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, has journeyed through midlife with ease and grace that you really admire? I mean, there's plenty of women in my life that I look up to and I think, wow, how do you do it? And I want to pick their brains and I want to learn from them. So I want to encourage you to seek support, to get guidance. Like I said earlier, it is a significant time of emotional challenges for many of us. And it's not just, midlife that brings these things up, but for many of us, all of these things kind of compounding on each other with our bodies changing, hormones shifting. Maybe we're looking in the mirror. It's just a lot of things. Our relationships have changed. It all kind of can compound on itself or on you, and you wake up one day and you're just like, man, how did I get here? So I want to encourage you once again, look to the links in the show notes if you're looking to find a therapist. If you feel like I might be of a good support system for you as a life coach, feel free to reach out to me. I can tell you how that works. I'm also playing around with the idea of starting a membership. So I have some ideas where we would cover body, mind, and spirit for, I want to call it like midlife magic for moms or something like that. I don't know. I'm just kind of playing around with it. I'm not, if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, send me a message, send me an email, lisa@lisamustard.com, or you can go to the contact form on my website or find me on Instagram. I would love to know if you would be interested in joining my membership. So I'm just going to throw it out there and see what you guys think. But I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, whatever you're doing, get out there and enjoy your life. So it's important to stress that these episodes are not meant to take the place of any work you're doing with your therapist or doctor. In fact, please run these ideas by your counselor or doctor before you act on them to make sure you're ready for them or even a fit for the ideas, suggestions that I've mentioned in this episode. I can't stress it enough that each person is unique and their situation is unique. So please talk to your doctor before starting anything new I might be suggesting. And the therapy show with Lisa Mustard and the information provided by me is solely intended for informational and entertainment purposes and is not a substitute for advice, diagnosis, or treatment regarding medical or mental health conditions. Although I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, the views expressed on this site or on this podcast or any related content should not be taken for medical or psychiatric advice. Always consult your physician before making any decisions related to your physical or mental health. Well, that wraps up another episode of The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard. I know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and I'm thankful you've chosen to listen to mine.
Be sure to visit lisamustard.com to access the show notes and discover more fantastic content.
And I'd be grateful if you subscribe to the show. Thank you.